Welcome, everyone, to the Pick Six Podcast, where we discuss the biggest stories in college football. I'm your host, Chris Chang, and as you can probably tell by the small lack of energy, we are not celebrating a victory Sunday. I have no idea what we would call this, but we'll get into it. Canes dropping another loss, this time to the SMU Mustangs, 26-20 in overtime. Had to give myself a 24-hour break. Just because I was probably joining a lot of you in the Fire Mario chants, and that's obviously a very emotional and irrational thought. I'll get into it. I know some of you are probably thinking, no, it's not that irrational. We'll get into that. We'll dissect that. I'm gonna try and figure out how I want to do this video because I want to focus on the game and I want to do an actual, recap. But I think this game is just screaming the problems we have with our program. And so maybe I'll try and for as long as I can stay on topic with the game, and then maybe do a second video on the state of the program and what we're dealing with. But guys, if you're watching this, you're a Cane. You bleed orange and green. You follow other podcasts, I'm sure. You follow this team, ball. So I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty. I'm just going to talk about some just general things I noticed, and trends. And then, like I said, we'll get into the problem with the program, right? And I think we all know what the problem is. So let's get into it. Miami receiving its second conference ACC loss, essentially knocking us out of not only the college football playoff, but for sure knocking us out of ACC contention. So I'm not saying this melodramatically. I've slept on this. I've given myself 24 hours to decompress. The season as a fan is over. I'm not using hyperbole. I am not trying to be, again, melodramatic. The goal of this season, Charlotte, college football playoffs, compete, go deep in the playoffs, and potentially play for a national championship. That is the goal. We're nowhere close. And you can call me delusional, you can call me a homer, you can call me insert whatever expletive you want. That's fine. You look at games 1 through 5, not a single pundit would argue otherwise. So when I say that this season is over, mathematically we have been eliminated from all of our goals, it's over. And that's okay. You can say that. There's nothing wrong. If someone tells you you're not a good fan, or you're being dramatic, or you're a loser fan, you can point them to this video, hopefully use these points I'm about to tell you, and you will quickly be vindicated, okay? But either way, here are some of the things. I'm going to try and bring these up of things that just stuck out, okay? So I'm looking at just some odds and ends here. Kevin Jennings, quarterback for SMU, who literally was playing with one leg, left the game for a play or two because he's literally playing with one leg, and came back, beat us with a QBR rating of 67.6. Guy went 29 for 44, one touchdown. However, he did throw 365 yards, basically a yard for every day in the year. Compared to that, to our quarterback, Carson Beck, who went 26 for 38, 274 yards, averaging 7.2 yards a throw, 2 touchdowns, and sadly, 2 interceptions. One of them, not his fault. We'll get into that later. So on the quarterback end, outperformed completely. All right, let's look at rushing, right? That's what we do. We rush. We run the ball. Ran for 159 yards overall, averaging 4 yards a carry. You would think probably won that, right? QB played better. Running game played better. Should have won that. Rushing, this is what SMU put up. 23 yards. MJ. They put up MJ's number. Total. In the game. Let's scroll down a little bit more, guys. 270 yards through the air. Like I just said, 365. They beat us in receiving. Okay. Now I want to get into some little bit nitty-gritty things really quick. Let's get into these stats. When you look up at the matchup stats, right? Or efficiency stats, right? I have this little web page I go to, and it breaks everything down based on their ranking in all of FBS, and then what their averages are and everything. In almost every statistical category, minus yards per play, and in turnover margin, we won. Every one of them. In almost every statistical category, we won. But we lost. I'm struggling for words because I don't understand how you come into a game. I want to look this up too. Let me look this up really quick. How many double-digit losses does Mario Cristobal? I'll look this up for the next video. But either way, once again, we're double-digit favorites. 6. It looks like apparently in my initial search. 6. There's a guy who got fired from Penn State. Again, I'm saying James Franklin is Urban Meyer or anything like that. The guy won every game he was supposed to win. Yet we have a coach who can't win. Okay, I'm getting off topic. Stick with SMU. Anyways, let's talk about the first half, right? So the first half of the game, Miami comes out. We look pretty good on that first drive, right? Defense at least looks, and again, as I'm saying this, I'm quickly reminding myself, okay, that really wasn't the defense. That was SMU dropping the ball. But when you have Russell Maryland's son, who's taking a handoff as a tight end and fumbling the ball and giving you the ball, you got to respond. You got to take advantage of that. We didn't. We scored, but again, that's not what happened. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, we did score on the next drive, but what I mean is like each of these drives, there should have been a score. There should have been a score on almost every single time the offense got the ball, and we looked flat. But here's the problem: looking flat was a problem kind of last year in the first half. I don't know how it's carrying over into this year, considering the fact we've got all new role players. We've got almost an entirely brand new team. Again, I'm okay starting flat because the discrepancy in talent on the field from here on out, from Louisville on, favored Miami, right? We go up at halftime, but here's the problem. Like, let me go back. We looked flat, but here's the problem. What was unique about this game and why I'm just so flabbergasted. We looked disorganized. We didn't look like a team that had rehearsed what its game plan was that week, that knew what the job was, and that knew what we were coming to do in Dallas. No idea it looked like. There were times where the clock ran down to literally like single digits, low single digits, which really should never happen in the first quarter of a game. There were timeouts taken that didn't need to be taken. There were also moments where you could see Carson Beck visual. Again, I'm not saying this in a negative way, but the dude's a potato, right? You can't read him, and that's good for a quarterback. You know, you don't want them to be too emotional, but you don't want someone to be completely like dead in the eyes. And not to say that he's dead in the eyes, but again, he's not that rah-rah guy, you know? Visibly, excuse me, upset. Now, when a person who's like that, right? When someone who's a starfish gets visibly upset, I can guarantee you it's not the one thing. It's probably been a series, whether it was that week, this month, this year, of things culminating to that point to where he was visibly upset. And again, I'm not going to make pretense to understand why he got upset at that exact moment or during that drive. but I can probably guess it's because we didn't have our stuff together. I'm trying to keep this PG-13. And that's how we looked the whole first half. Second half, again, slightly better, but not what we did with Stanford. And my hope was when we came out of Stanford, we would ride that wave. We obviously did not. We can also talk about 25 seconds left in the game. Well, first, again, blame has to go all the way around. I mean, it takes, again, as stupid as the cliche is, you're only as strong as your weakest link. That's our team. I think sadly our weakest link is our head coach. Not that he's a bad head coach, but his weaknesses are what are permeating through all of our losses. We're going to get into that. I'm going to try and stay on track. SMU. We have 25 seconds left in the game. It's tied. You take a knee. DJ Williams, almost every Sunday, goes on, does his walk and talk or whatever he does, where he discusses, the game before, and usually it's happier. But today he highlighted something, and I kind of wanted to talk about it, and it just stuck out to me about the game. Every team has a brand, right? Or I'll just translate an identity, right? You look at it, you Michigan, the Michigan man, right? The Ohio State, Death Valley, LSU, Death Valley, Clemson, Tomahawk Shop, FSU. Can't clap the right way, Gators. Insert whatever fan base you want. They have an identity, right? Now, those are a lot of the things I was just giving towards the end, especially with the Chomp and the Seminoles was more, cheers. But my point is they go with a certain identity of a program. Our identity is swag. Our identity is audacity. It is gumption. It is confidence, arrogance, if you want to hate, right? Where is that? Where is that? Because I don't see it. I don't see a team, and I'm not trying to poo-poo on the players. I get it, they're kids. I know I look like a kid somewhat. I'm 40. I wish I was a kid. My body doesn't feel like a kid. So I can only give so much blame to them. But I also think it's a culture thing. I think it's a bravado, and you've got 25 seconds left or more, maybe it was 28. I don't know. I can't remember. And you literally go into the game. Yeah, 25 seconds left with one timeout, and you just take a knee. Now I get it. You don't want to sway the momentum. SMU just drove down the field. But here's my argument with that. If a team has already proved to you that they can drive the ball down the field, and I know what everyone is screaming up into this moment, and I'm gonna get to it. The refs, I'm gonna get to it, I promise. But I want to talk football, right? If you've seen a team hang with you, but then not only that, drive down in their final drive and score on you, what makes you think the momentum is even in your favor in the first place? At that point, you have nothing to lose. And I know someone else, a detractor, is going to say, no, the game, Chris, you have the game to lose. No, you don't. Barring a massive catastrophe, which at that point, again, I think if you pull 100 fans, not casuals, you pull people who watch this every Saturday, right? You pull 100 of those people, I guarantee you at least 80% of those people would say, you go for it. You find some play, you drive, just show at a minimum to show that you have belief in your players. A lot of announcers and people who watch the game will tell you a lot of teams go for it in those crazy situations, not because they feel like they can win the game or make the play they need to make. It's because they want to show their players that they believe in, that coaches believe in their players to say, hey, I trust in you enough to give us a chance. Mario's like, nah, bruh. Nah, we gonna take this to halftime. And somehow find the gusto, find the confidence, find the swag that we haven't had all season. Because this team all season has not had it. There has not been a single moment, minus the first game against Notre Dame. And even then, it was chipped away where we had confidence. From Notre Dame on, it has been a precipitous decline in confidence, in swagger, and determination. Like, it is very much now like, okay, I'm not sure. And we're becoming this team, especially going into SMU, which from the rip, from preseason on to the very time that kickoff took place, everyone kept saying, oh, this is, and the same thing with Louisville. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy where people, oh, trap game, oh, upset alert. Like, yes, we've already seen this. Look at Georgia Tech. Any team can lose on any Saturday. We know that. That's why you play the game. Like, obviously, but don't let that creep into your head. Like, up until Louisville, and even after Louisville, I don't even play for this team, but you know what I said? I said, there's no way we lose. There's no way. There's no, it's such a, and despite the amount of content that came out this week about, oh, they could be on upset alert. If you watch any of those videos, almost every single person will say, I'm just basically saying this just in case. No one actually believed that SMU, there's not a single person in this world besides people who live in Dallas. And even people who live in Dallas and have a pony on their shirt didn't believe they were going to beat us. Like, how you let that enter your building and then you corroborate that by saying, nah, we're going to take this to overtime. I don't know many teams that do that and win. I would actually love a stat. So if anyone watching this can just do that Google search for me and just see how many teams who elect to who have not been leading all game, who elect to go into overtime, win overtime games. I would love to know that, because we're all about analytics at now, and we're just going to follow the analytics. And I'm not against that. I'm not. But you're not a robot. You're a coach. You get paid millions of dollars for those judgment decisions, right? It's just like this whole chat GBT generation where everyone's just using chat GBT to like write through their college papers. It's like, that's not going to get you anywhere. And it's the same thing with the analytics. Those analytics aren't going to win games for you. They're not. They're probabilities. You got to play the game. You've got to show the kids that you believe in them. Again, and then even with the punt in the fourth quarter, like, what are we doing? Get the points, man. Like, I get it. I get it. Let's next talk about like the elephant in the room. I'm choosing not to talk about it first because I think it's an issue. I'm not saying it's not an issue, but when you have the talent you have at UM, you can't let it become an issue. And not only that, if you want to play on Sundays, or you pride yourself in hard work and you pride yourself in doing the hard work, you got to play beyond that. No one has perfect circumstances in life. I don't know a single person. I've never encountered a single person in my life who's never met adversity. It's impossible. It's impossible. You have to. And adversity doesn't come with just the people who are wearing the opposite jersey as you. They wear freaking stripes and look like zebras. That's adversity. You think they're there to help you? No. If anything, they're there to keep you in check. And so you can't blame the rest. Yes, there was pass interferences that should have been called. Yes, the Marquise Lightfoot, but honestly, the more you watch that Lightfoot thing, that was a stupid move. That was an immature move. You see Ruben Bain pulling up 5 yards out. Like, it's no. I don't want to hear about that, man. And not only that, but like, we need, like, again, I think 100 yards in penalties. 100 yards, guys. 12 for 96. 12 penalties for 90. What are we doing? Again, we pride ourselves on discipline and accountability and rah, rah, rah. Where is that? Not only where is that, why is that in a unit that you played in, that you pride yourself in? I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. Make it make sense. If wide receivers, if tight ends were jumping up, cool. If linebackers and safeties were getting personal fouls, cool. That is not your unit. That is not your speciality. Linemen are. It's unexcusable. And then I'm talking to Rudy, and he's like, "Well, you know what they're doing? They're copying our cadence." I'm sorry. I guarantee you right now, your mom calls you, your best friend calls you, your brother or sister call you, your coworker calls you. You're going to know exactly whose voice is on the other line. You don't need to see the caller ID. You don't need for them to announce who it is. You know. You're telling me these guys don't know Carson Beck's voice? Not only that you're telling me these guys don't know the count? I'm just not here for that, man. Excuses are like buttholes. Everyone has one and they all stink. Miss me with that. Miss me with the refs. Yes, the refs suck. I get that. At some point, you have to be able to have your talent take over. You have to be determined enough to say, I'm not going to let this determine what I'm going to do. And again, that's the players. Let's go to the coaches really quick. Like, if you know the refs don't have your side and they're not going to be helping you out or giving you any handouts, why are you drawing up plays that are not helping you out? Like, again, vanilla is hell. We're going to go into another situation in the next video talking about the state of the program, but I'm going to highlight a little bit here. You know, there's this whole JoJo Trader drama going on behind the scenes. It's nauseating and stupid and very like TMZ. So I won't get deep into it. But essentially the gist is that like JoJo Trader has an issue with Mario Cristobal and he's kind of been in the doghouse the whole time. And so that's why it's taken him 8 games to become relevant. And the first quarter goes for 87 yards or 85. What did he have? What did JoJo Trader have? Let's look this up really quick. JoJo Trader went off for 5 catches for 81 yards. Basically almost all of it in the first quarter, which I don't know anyone doing that. Love Malachi Tony. Don't see him doing that. Love CJ Daniels. Don't see him doing that. So whatever beef these two have got going on, listen, man, I'm going to talk about that in the next video because I want to stay SMU. But again, JoJo Trader, I get it. Has a little bit T-Rex arms, alligator arms when that one catch pops up. It gets deflected, intercepted. SMU flips, scores right immediately. Really sucks the air out of the game. I know, first quarter, but still, you can see how that, or second quarter, excuse me, kind of shifts the game a little bit. Again, good coaching, good players, strong players. They don't allow that. Adversity meets you. Again, I love these kids. I wish nothing but the best for them. But I can tell you, as a person who was once in their 20s, whatever you think you're facing today, it will get harder. And what you're facing on the field will be nothing compared to the stuff you're going to face in the real world. Losing, I mean, besides Mark Fletcher, maybe Mark Fletcher is probably the only one who understands that. He lost his father. Like, burying a parent, burying a loved one, like that's, trust me, that's going to be exponentially harder than blocking a guy. And it's like, I bring that up, and I know it sounds like I'm being dramatic, but I bring that up because you have to learn how to handle adversity. It's like one thing I teach my kids, and they're 6, 5, and 3. You got to handle adversity, man. You got to control your emotions, and you got to handle your adversity. And I'm not seeing that in this team. It's there's like almost a lack. And again, I don't blame them. I blame the coaching. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to 2 things. You're either not prepared correctly or you were misevaluated, both of which go back up the totem pole. Has nothing to do with these kids. These kids go out, they put their best foot forward, and then they play the best players. Hopefully. Either way, you've got a team who not only did we statistically beat them in almost every major category, then you had them troll us by making 3 out of the 4 captains former players. Like, let me tell you something. I understand, like I just mentioned, you have to control your emotions. There is not a parallel universe where if I'm Mario Cristobal that I'm not putting a fire under the asses of all my players saying, just remember that. That's a troll. That's what they think of you. They're going to put the leftovers. They're going to put the old dirty laundry on the field and say that they're equal to you. Let me tell you something. My wife puts me in a competition with her ex. You better believe it's lights out. It's lights out. There's no competition. I don't care how big he is. I don't care how. No. Like that would fuel me. I would be good with that. Not this team. Then you have, again, just talking about coaching. You got Shannon Dawson blowing up. Again, I've gone back, watched it 2 or 3 times. It's not against Mario. I think he's just more pissed off at like what's going on in the game, specifically what's happening with the running game. All of this to say, though, something ain't right in the house. Something ain't right in the house. There is something going on. Feelings are being hurt. Things are being done. And again, we won't know till the end of the season. We won't know till these kids start transferring, getting into the transfer portal. I don't know. All of this to say, Miami season's done. Statistically, unless someone wants to drop a comment below, I have looked at all the teams ahead of us in the ACC, and there's no way we can get into the ACC championship. It's literally mathematically impossible. I mean, and here's the thing. The teams that would have to beat the teams that are ahead of us would then leapfrog us. And then even if we ended up in ties, the teams we've lost to and common opponents, it's not gonna happen, guys. I'm not trying to say this again to be melodramatic. I want people to understand why a lot of people are really upset about what's happening, because we're in week 10, 8 games in, and the season's over. And not only that, there's a very, very strong possibility we go 8-4. We're going to lose a Pitt. Ain't no way we winning in Pitt. We'll beat Syracuse. We'll struggle and possibly lose to NC State because they just beat Georgia Tech. Virginia Tech, we should win, but who knows? We'll be on the road. And by that time, God forbid we lose to NC State at home. Forget it. I wouldn't be surprised. And I wouldn't blame these kids for quitting. Again, it's just 2 things can be true, right? We are in a different era of football, and we are dealing with a new generation of people. So the expectation for former generations can be true, but at the same time, the resolute and the mental psyche of kids today is what it is. Yeah, like when I grew up, people never opened their mouth and talk crap because you get smacked. Kids nowadays, they don't care. It's just what it is. It's a different generation. So I'm not saying this team's going to quit. My hope is they don't. But at the same time, again, I'm not going to be surprised if they do. Because what is there to play for? The Pop-Tarts Bowl? Like, realistically, what are you playing for? Because you're not going to make it to the ACC championship. And I guarantee you that was on the hearts of every single person who had a U on their helmet. That's why you come to Miami. You don't come to get 8 wins. You don't come to get 9 wins. You don't come to get 10 wins and say, oh, we had a double-digit season. Congratulations. No, you come to win championships. You come to compete for championships. And for the 2nd year in a row, we are eliminated in the first week of November. Just gone out of the playoffs, out of ACC contention. I don't know, man. I don't know. we're going to get into the program in the next video. I'm going to take a break, try and gather my thoughts. I'm utterly speechless. This is just, it was such a piss poor performance again. Mario Cristobal, Hurricanes dropping another game as a double-digit favorite in the month of November. The statistics it's nauseating. It's utterly nauseating what this team is putting out there and what we're doing. I mean, at least we're not Florida State or Florida, right? But I don't care. I don't care about any other team except for the U. I literally started this podcast because I love the U. I love talking about this. But I'm at a loss for words. And that's a lot. And so, again, we'll be back here next week, talk about Syracuse. Probably won't be focusing on the team as much as in terms of Syracuse and the matchups. I'm going to focus like I did right after Louisville loss when we we're talking about Stanford, what I'd like to see change. And hopefully we'll see some of the changes. But until the next video, which we'll be talking about the state of the program, be good, y'all. Let's have a better week than the weekend we've had. And as always, it sucks that the season's over, but as always, go Canes.